Hi, good evening. Well, at least it's evening here. I'm not sure what time it is where you are. Today is February 26th. Yesterday was one of my brother's birthdays, so I got to talk to him. And he was going to Mexico. So that sounds really fun and really warm because it's been very cold here. But we're supposed to be getting rain pretty soon. What's the weather like where you're at? All right, we're reading out of the book City Bear Adventures. This is in the D.J. Dillon series that we've been reading. I love this series. And it's by Lee Roddy. So last time we read about a little bit of mischief that the bear cub, Coco, got into when he was at the store. Do you remember that? He got into the ice cream, knocked it down at his store, and ate a carton of ice cream. He had his nose in it. Now, chapter 3 is the one we're going to read today. Alfred leads the cub into trouble. After doing his chores the next morning, DJ walked around the east side of the house where the hounds were chained. Except for the first day after the cub was brought home, the hounds had ignored the bear. The female trail hound had even allowed Coco to sleep with her pups. DJ found it strange that such a thing could happen with natural enemies, but Coco didn't seem like a wild animal at all. He seemed to be born to live with people. I don't know about that. What do you think? DJ reached into the doghouse and pulled Coco out. The pups tumbled out after the bear, ready for a romp. A romp would be they want to play and wrestle. But the boy was anxious to see his new friend, Alfred. DJ snapped a chain on the cub. DJ's hair-pulling bear dog, Hero, whined and stood on his hind legs, held back by the collar and the chain. He was very anxious to go with DJ. For a moment, the boy hesitated. Then he decided he better take the cub alone so Alfred could help train Coco. The boy started around the corner of the porch. He heard Grandpa's rocking chair squeaking. "Grandpa, Dad said I could go over and see the new kid, Alfred. Lives on Limelick Ditch. I'll be home after supper." Grandpa didn't answer. DJ stopped suddenly, aware that Grandpa was rocking very fast. He only did that when he was angry. DJ just started to call a warning, but it was too late. Grandpa's fast rocking had tilted the old red cane-bottomed chair so far back that it suddenly went over. Grandpa was thrown onto the splintery porch with a crash. Bang! The old man rolled over, grabbed his Irish shillelagh, and began whacking the top of the toppled over chair like it was the chair's fault. Just as suddenly, Grandpa stopped. DJ started to run up on the porch, but the old man sat down, found his bifocal glasses, and resettled them on his nose. He shoved himself to his feet with his blackthorn cane and shook his head. Now I know how the Apostle Paul felt when he said he did things he didn't want to do. "You hurt, Grandpa?" "No, DJ, just mad. And I shouldn't be. But I get so all fired, burned up at your father sometimes. He's so stubborn. Then I get mad at myself for getting mad at him. Because if I'm a new creation, Paul the Apostle talks about, then I shouldn't get mad at anybody. Isn't that so, DJ?" The boy grinned. "Grandpa, you need to ask Paul Stagg about such things. I'm having trouble telling Dad about what I decided to do with my life when old Satchelfoot had me up the tree. The old man brushed a liver spot. Remember, I showed you one time what a liver spot is? Let's see. Can you see that on my hand? There's that little dark, looks like a freckle. That's called a liver spot or an age spot. And so Grandpa brushed that. Crossed his thin brown, brushed a liver spotted hand across his thin gray hair. He let G.J. help him set the rocker upright. Grandpa lowered himself slowly into the chair. I suppose you're going to make a body guess what you done, D.J. Don't mean to, Grandpa, but I guess I'm unsure how to do it. I mean, tell people I gave my life to the Lord. Only you did that in church like most people, while I did it up in a tree with a mad bear trying to eat my foot off. Grandpa cackled with glee. Well, now you don't say. Two of us Christians in this house now, huh? Your mother would be mighty happy. But how come you didn't say anything? Scared of what Dad would say, I guess. I've even been afraid he'd get mad if he saw me reading Ma's old Bible. The old man laughed, throwing his head so far that the bifocal slipped on his nose. Now if that don't beat it all. I've been having trouble reading the Bible too, but mostly because I can't see too good, even with these spectacles. Tell you what, DJ, let's you and me read the scriptures together. I'd like that, Grandpa. Good. We'll do it. Well, you best get along with your bear and meet your new friend. For a moment, DJ hesitated. He knew why Grandpa was mad at Dad because the boy had overheard the conversation the night before. But was that enough to make Grandpa still mad this morning? The boy asked, You think Dad will ask Mrs. Higgins to marry him, Grandpa? He might. Would that bother you? DJ shrugged. Guess so, Grandpa. She's nice enough, but nobody can take my mother's place. Besides, she's got a mean daughter who's always getting me in trouble. You don't want Pris for a stepsister? No, Grandpa, I don't. The old man sighed. Guess maybe I'd better study on that a while. Maybe pray, too. Well, now you run along and have fun with that there cub. Alfred's house had a tin roof with long rusty spots where the snow and rain had made long ugly slashes. Do any of you have a metal roof on your house? Some of my neighbors do. Mine isn't a metal roof, but I wish that I'd got one actually. The sound of the rain hitting a tin roof is so pretty. The house was small and built up high with several steps going up the front door. The garage was under the house. A dark green yew tree stood to the right side of the white house. A sugar pine stood to the left. DJ tied the bear cub to the bottom post of the stairs and clumped heavily up to knock on the door. A pleasant woman with sad eyes opened the door. Her mouse-colored hair, that'd be kind of a brown, was parted in the middle, right through here, like a straight line, and tied back in a bun. Let's see, if I had mine tied back in a bun, it would be back like this, kind of, and I'd have this, a bun. That's to keep it out of your way when you're working. She wore thick glasses like her son. She looked rather prim and proper, like a school teacher. Dad talked about having, like a school teacher that Dad talked about having when he was a boy. I'm DJ Dillon, the boy said. I came to see Alfred. DJ, come in. Alfred's been expecting you. She raised her voice. Alfred, your friend's here. She opened the door wide and indicated two old pale green upholstered chairs. I'm Alfred's mother, Mrs. Milford. Have a seat. He'll be right out. He's helping his little brother with a puzzle. Ralph? Yes, but everyone calls him Tag. My Alfred's very good with puzzles and things. Likes big words. Got 2 dictionaries. Reads a lot. Tag's been wanting to go with you boys, so we gave him the puzzle to keep him happy. Mrs. Milford could talk a blue streak. I mean, she could talk a long time, DJ thought. Sometimes lonely people did when they had company, he'd noticed. Grandpa did it once in a while. DJ took the nearest green chair and glanced around the room. Boxes were partly unpacked. Some were opened, some still closed. The room had pale pink rose wallpaper. Countless pictures and frames were already hanging on the walls. They had a lot of them, or placed on top of every flat piece of furniture. The lace curtains had been hung. DJ figured Mrs. Milford was a real homebody. My Alfred tells me you have a bear cub. DJ shifted in his chair. Yes'm. Doesn't your mother think that's dangerous? She's dead. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. A drunk driver hit her and another woman from church last winter. They were driving on the narrow stretch of mountain road between Stony Ridge and Indian Springs. Mrs. Milford was upset. She twisted her hands together so hard, DJ thought they must surely hurt. She brushed her hair back nervously. You live with your father? And Grandpa, Dad's father. I see. You like school, DJ? Sometimes. DJ didn't know why he was uncomfortable, but he was glad when he heard Alfred hurrying down the narrow hallway from the back bedroom. Hi, Alfred said, flopping into the other green chair. You bring your cub? Tied at the foot of the steps. Mom, can we bring him in the house? Mercy, no! A wild animal like that? No, I'm not even sure I should let you go with him. Maybe I'd better take a look at him before I decide on that one. She walked to the front door, opened it, and looked down. DJ and Alfred exchanged glances. They looked at each other. Each was a little unsure of what Mrs. Milford would decide. In a moment, she stepped back in and closed the door. I have a cat that's bigger than that little bear, she announced. I suppose it's okay, but Alfred, you don't do anything that'll upset your father. Alfred stood fairly grinning. I won't, Mom. And I'll be home for lunch. And be home for lunch. DJ, you'll join us, of course. The boy nodded, thanked her for the luncheon invitation, and then noticed his new friend out the front door and down the steps. Coco had been trying to climb the post to which he was chained. DJ picked up the cub and carried him down to the ground where the boy released him. Can I hold him? Alfred asked. Sure, but go slow at first. I've been studying up on California black bears since yesterday, the new boy announced, slowly extending the back of his hand to the cub. That's what you do with a dog, too, that you haven't been around. You always show them the back of your hand for them to sniff. You don't do the front because that could look like you're going to hit them. But the back, they feel safer. Oh, yes, there are two races of black bears in this state. The northwestern black bear, called Ursula americanus altifrontales, and the Sierra Nevada black bear, which is this one. They inhabit the Cascade, Klamath, North, and South coastal mountains, plus what's called the Peninsula and Sierra Nevada mountains ranges from near sea level to about 3,000 meters. Since the meter is the same as 39.37 United States inches, that's about... DJ interrupted with a laugh. Hey, wait. I'll take your word for everything. Boy, you must have a brain. Alfred's face sobered. He lowered his eyes. Please don't call me that, he said quietly. Call you what? A brain. That's what kids called me at my last school, and nobody wanted me to play with them. They were mean about my glasses, too. DJ stared at his new friend. It was plain that Alfred was very sensitive about what he was and what people thought he was. Alfred, as far as I'm concerned, you're my friend. Now, I want to be a writer, and writers have to know lots of things. But nobody calls me, well, you or I are friends, and that's that. Alfred's grin was as wide as a slice of picnic cut watermelon. Whoa, that is big. And can Coco be my friend too? Ask him. The new boy nodded and bent to slowly take the cub's front forepaw, that would be the front paw. Coco, are we friends? We are? Let's shake on it. Alfred stood all smiles. He licked me. Did you see that? He likes me. Or maybe he was tasting you first to see if he wanted to eat you, DJ said, trying to keep a straight face. Alfred shook his head. Black bears are shy, omnivorous animals. They eat all kinds of food, but they don't eat people. You knew that, didn't you? Yes, I was just teasing, DJ admitted with a grin. For a moment, Alfred considered that. But it's not mean teasing. Like most kids, you're teasing like a friend. Like friends, DJ said. Alfred said, I never had a real friend before. I mean, except for books and trees. Me either, DJ admitted, smiling happily. Then he frowned. Books and trees? My best friends up to now, DJ said owlishly. DJ freed the bear's chain from the post and then handed the chain to Alfred. You can lead him first. Alfred's mouth dropped open. His chin bobbled and he swallowed twice, real fast and hard, before he asked, Can I? Sure. First, let me take him down to the store and show him to Mrs. Greenlee. Then we'll go exploring, okay? Okay. They started to run down the hill towards the combination grocery store and service station. The store was an off shade of white with green trim and a red composition roof. That's the type of roof that I have, is composition. DJ stopped and puffed a little as he asked, How can trees be friends? Trees never hurt your feelings, Alfred said, pulling the bear's chain and easing the little bear into a heel position against his left leg, heel, where he would be running right along his leg. And trees are always nice, as friends should be. Oh, said DJ softly. I never thought of it like that. Of course, Alfred said, starting to run again and looking back to see how easily the cub was following. I would rather have a real live human friend like you. Me too, DJ agreed. Alfred pushed open the door of the little store, making the cowbell clang above the door. DJ caught the smell of a wooden floor cleaned with sawdust and some sort of chemical. Racks of fishing poles and lures took up the right side of the store. Narrow aisles of groceries with a tiny meat counter filled the left side. Alfred whispered, Mrs. Greenlee will sure be surprised. Oh, hi, Mrs. Greenlee. Look what I got. The proprietor, that's the lady that owned the store, was a big woman with arms that jiggled between her elbows and her shoulders. It was semi-cool and semi-dark in the store, but DJ could see she was perspiring, so sweating. What is that thing, Alfred? Mrs. Greenlee asked. She produced a pair of black-rimmed glasses from her apron and adjusted them. My stars! It's a bear! Just a cub, really, Mrs. Green. Get that thing out of here! She pointed a heavy hand with a stiff forefinger. Out! Out! The woman's voice made the cub back up suddenly. DJ saw what was going to happen, but Alfred was looking at surprise at the woman. He didn't tighten the chain. DJ jumped to grab the bear as the woman continued to yell, her voice getting higher every second. Out! 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 The cub backed into the display rack of fishing poles. They clattered to the floor. Coco reacted by jumping away. His nose smashed into a stack of canned peaches. The cans gave slightly, offering the cub a kind of cave. He pushed hard into them, bringing down the entire display with a terrible crash. Out! 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 Mrs. Greenlee shrieked. DJ bent and scooped the cub into his arms before the bear smashed into the open pickle barrel. DJ ran for the door with Alfred trying to apologize and walk backward at the same time. I'm sorry. He tripped over a loose can of peaches that had rolled halfway down to the door. Alfred fell like a scarecrow, outstretched arms flying. They hit a stack of soap boxes. The display crumbled slowly, and the woman covered her eyes. Alfred scooted out the door. DJ didn't know why, but he was running, hugging that bear to his chest. When he reached the foot of Alfred's front steps, DJ stopped to catch his breath. Alfred clumped in his big boots and flopped down heavily beside him. DJ whistled. Woo-wee! She was mad. No reason to be, Alfred said, looking at the store as if it was expected Miss Greenlee to be chasing them. Guess she doesn't like surprises much. DJ thought a minute. Maybe we better go offer to clean up things, but we'll leave the bear here. Alfred grinned. Good idea. Boy, I like having a friend, especially when you got a bear cub. Hey, I can just tell this is going to be a year neither you or I will ever forget. DJ swallowed hard. Somehow he had the feeling that Alfred was right, and it sort of scared him. Wow, that was an interesting chapter. Alfred leads the cub into trouble. Wow. Well, chapter 3 is already over. Can you believe that? Tomorrow, we're going to be reading chapter 4, A Scare for DJ. Oh dear. I wonder what that's about. Well, we'll have to wait till tomorrow. I want to remind you, as always, that I love you and I'm so happy that you're on this with me every day. And I want to say, God loves you the very most. So I hope you're having a good day or a good night, whichever time you're listening to this. And I'll talk and read with you again tomorrow.